My inconsiderate upstairs neighbor said sound travels both ways when I complained about his 3 a.m. parties, so I made sure it traveled his way during every single hour he tried to sleep. Living below Rufus was pure hell. 2 years of 3 a.m. parties, bass that shook my ceiling, and footsteps like a herd of elephants. I'd been patient, tried talking to him nicely, even brought him cookies once. Nothing worked. The parties got louder, longer, later. Then I learned something interesting about Rufus. He worked security at night and slept during the day. That changed everything. Tuesday night, 3:15 a.m., I couldn't do it anymore. The bass was so loud my bed was vibrating. I could hear every word of their conversations, every clink of beer bottles, every burst of laughter. I had a presentation at 8 a.m. and hadn't slept in hours. I threw on clothes and marched upstairs. Rufus answered the door shirtless, beer in hand, music blasting behind him. I asked him to please keep it down, mentioning I had work in the morning. He looked me up and down like I was pathetic. His friends were watching from the couch, smirking. When I said it was a weeknight and people needed sleep, he actually rolled his eyes. Then he leaned against his doorframe with this cocky grin and said the words that sealed his fate. Sound travels both ways, man. Something clicked in my brain. 2 years of being nice, 2 years of losing sleep, 2 years of him treating me like a joke. I'd been the perfect neighbor. No parties, no loud music. I even avoided using my blender after 9 p.m. But telling me sound travels both ways? I stared at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. The irony was suffocating. He slammed the door, music cranking even louder. I stood there listening to him tell his friends about the whiny neighbor. Perfect. I walked downstairs and did some quick math. Rufus got home around 7 a.m., asleep by 9. 8 hours of construction noise was legally allowed starting at 7 a.m. I'd been wanting to renovate anyway. I grabbed my laptop and started shopping. Home Depot rented hammer drills. The hardware store had jackhammers, power sanders, concrete mixers, industrial equipment that would make beautiful, legal noise during daytime hours. Rufus wanted to teach me about sound. I was about to become his star pupil. By 4 a.m., I had a rental truck reserved and a shopping list ready. 7:30 a.m., I fired up the hammer drill. The sound was glorious. I started on our shared wall, drilling holes for the shelving I suddenly desperately needed. The drill bit screamed against the concrete like a banshee. Within minutes, I heard angry stomping upstairs. A door slammed hard enough to rattle my windows. I smiled and moved to the next section. The drilling echoed through the thin walls perfectly. Sound travels both ways, man, motivated me with every drill. Rufus appeared at my door 20 minutes later, looking like death. Hair everywhere, eyes bloodshot, wearing yesterday's uniform. He pounded on my door like the police. I answered wearing safety goggles, drill in hand. He started yelling about the noise, about just getting home from work, about needing sleep. I listened patiently, then explained I was doing home improvements during legal hours. Suggested he try earplugs. Wednesday, he called building management. They checked the noise ordinances and told him construction was allowed 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Thursday, he tried bribing me with Starbucks and apologies. I thanked him, accepted the coffee, and switched to the power sander. The screaming whine was even better than the drill. Friday brought threats about calling the police. I reminded him they'd already told him my activities were perfectly legal. Week 3 broke him completely. I'd added morning calisthenics to my routine, jumping jacks at 7 a.m. sharp on our shared floor. The building was old, thin floors, every movement amplified. I watched through my peephole as Rufus stumbled to my door in pajamas, looking like he hadn't slept in days. This time he knocked softly, almost politely. When I opened the door mid-jumping jack, he looked broken. Dark circles under his eyes, hands shaking slightly. He begged me to stop, offered money, and promised his parties would end by midnight. I paused my workout and smiled. Sound travels both ways, remember? His face went white. He finally understood what I was doing, but I wasn't done teaching him yet. Week 4, I rented a drum kit. Week 5 brought woodworking. Week 6, he cracked completely, screaming in the hallway about the psycho downstairs. Building management called us both in. Rufus learned that revenge, served loudly and legally, tastes incredibly sweet. The meeting ended with a written agreement. No noise after 10 p.m. or before 8 a.m. Rufus signed it with shaking hands. 2 months later, he moved out. My new upstairs neighbor brought cookies and promised to keep things quiet. I never needed the power tools again, but kept the rental receipts framed in my kitchen.